Hello everyone. In my previous video, I had discussed class 10th English first flight book, Unit 3, Prose-3, Two Stories About Flying, Part 1, His First Flight by Liam O'Flaherty. In previous video, I had discussed about the young seagull who was afraid of taking his flight. His two brothers and younger sister had already taken their flight, but he could not gather courage to take his flight. Though the mother and father were threatening him, scolding him, shouting on him that he would have to starve there on his sledge, even then he could not gather the courage to take flight. So both of them, along with the three young seagulls, left him there on the ledge only and flew away. They were on the opposite cliff from where he could see all of them. And for the past 24 hours, nobody had come to him, neither father nor mother. Nobody came to him to give him food, and rather they both were busy in perfecting their young ones, perfecting in how to skim the waves and how to dive for the fish. He could see all of them from his ledge, and then they were taunting. The parents and all of them were taunting him for not taking his flight. And then next morning, the sun was blazing on his ledge. That was that faced the south. So now he was feeling appetite because he had not taken anything since the nightfall, since the last nightfall, previous nightfall. Now, what he tried to pretend, he came to the brink of the ledge and pretended that he is sleeping. But nobody paid any attention. Now, let's start our text, page number 34. Still, they took no notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was his father was preening the feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. Please note down the meanings. Dozing, to sleep lightly for a short time. To sleep lightly for a short time. Sunk is drowned. D-R-O-W-N-E-D, drowned. Preening is smoothing, feathers with beak. Smoothing feathers with beak. Hump. Hump is mound. Mound. एक टीला टाइप्स एक ऊंचा higher place. Hump. Thrust. Thrust is moved. Thrust moved. Scrapped. Scrapped removed something from surface. Removed something from surface. Maddened. Maddened became crazy. Maddened is became crazy. Now I start explanation. When he pretended to sleep, when he tried to show to her parents, her mother, that he is sleeping, empty stomach, but nobody paid any attention. His two brothers and sister were sleeping on the plateau, and the father was smoothing his feather with his beak. Only mother who was awake, only mother was awake, and she was looking at him. Him refers to the young seagull, right? So she was standing on a little high hump of the plateau, and she was tearing piece of fish that lay on her feet. And she scrapped, she removed the pieces of fish, and then she scrapped each side of her beak on the rock. She took the pieces of the fish and scraped his beak on the surface to sharpen it. Why she was doing all this? Why she was showing the food to the young seagull? Because she wanted that her young seagull should also start flying. So she was showing him the food, and she wanted that he should take his flight. And after seeing his mother, after seeing the sight of the food, the young seagull was completely mad of hunger. He wanted to have food. He loved to tear the food the same way how his mother was doing. He loved to sharpen his beak after having a bite, after having a scrap. So the mother seagull was intentionally doing all this so that the young seagull try, at least young seagull might try to take his flight. Young seagull may try to get the food. I hope this is clear to you. Let's read the next paragraph. Ga, 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 he cried, begging her to bring him some food. Ga, call ah. She screamed back derisively, but he kept calling plaintively, and after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. He leaned out eagerly, tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within reach of his beak. He waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into the space. Please note down the meanings. Derisively, derisively, mockingly, 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 mockingly. Plaintively, plaintively, sorrowfully, plaintively, sorrowfully. Uttered, uttered is said, said, said. Across, across, from one side to other, from one side to other. Leaned out is bent, bent. Eagerly, eagerly, full of desire. Tapping is beating lightly, tap, beating lightly. Halted, stopped, stopped. Motionless, motionless is silent, without any movement. Wondering is surprising, surprising, yes. I hope you all have noted down. Now let's start our explanation. Yes, the young seagull, after seeing his mother eating fish, he got maddened of hunger and he begged, he cried, he begged for the food. But mother mockingly responded. Mother responded mockingly. She did not pay attention. His mother had picked up a piece of fish. Yes. When his mother responded mockingly, then all of a sudden something happened which gave young seagull happiness. And he cried aloud joyfully. He uttered a joyful scream. What had happened? He saw his mother took a piece of fish and flew and started flying across to him with it. He saw that his mother took a fish in its beak and started flying across to him. And he leaned eagerly. He bent himself eagerly. He was tapping on the rock with his feet. And he tried to get near to the mother. What he did, as I told you, that he was at the brink of his ledge. When he saw mother, he got very excited. He tapped his feet on the surface and then tried to reach nearer to the mother. But when she was almost about to reach to him, she was about to be closer to the young seagull. She was almost opposite to him, and his beak was completely closer to the fish Then suddenly he did not get fish because his mother stopped there and did not give him fish. He waited a moment and then, because of hunger, he was completely maddened and he dived at the fish. When he saw that mother was nearer to him but did not give him fish, so he got maddened by hunger, and then he dived at the fish. And finally there was a loud scream and he fell outwards of his ledge and downwards into the space. He had fear that his wings would not support him, but now, out of his anger, out of his anger of not getting food, or we can say maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish and now he was into the into the open space. I hope this is clear to you. Let's move on. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Ga ga ga, ga ga ga, gowl or call ah. His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him screaming. He saw his two brothers and his sister flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. When he tried to get the fish, and then he jumped over at the fish. He jumped at the fish. Then he was into the open space. A monstrous terror seized him. He was scared. And then he could not hear anything. And slowly, this fear vanished away. This fear lasted only for a moment, only for a minute, and then this fear just vanished away. And he started taking his flight. He could feel that his wings were spread outwards and how these wings were cutting through the air. And now he could move. He was not falling. He was not afraid now. He was now moving headlong. He was now taking his flight. And now there was no fear of falling. Then he just felt a bit dizzy and flapped his wings. He only felt dizzy for a moment and then he flapped his wings, and there was his loud scream. And what he saw, the mother, father, younger brothers, and sister were flying around him. They had made a circle and they were flying around him. Now he was comfortable. Now he was confident because now he could take his flight. He was answering to his mother's screaming. Now all these were flying together. He saw his two brother and sister flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. Curveting, leaping like a horse. These young seagulls were flying around him. Then he completely, let's start the text. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly and commended himself to die and soar and curve. Shrieking shrilly, he was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight out over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him, with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. His parents and his brothers and sister had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. He dropped his legs to stand on green sea. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. But he was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise. Exhausted by the strange exercise, his feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly touched it, and he sank no further. He was floating on it, and around him his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps of dogfish. He had made his first flight. Note down the meanings. Yes. Commend, commended, commended, praised. Shrieking, shrieking, screaming, screaming. Ridges, ridges, mountain ranges. Amusedly, amusedly, happily. Flooring, flooring is flat surface. Beckoning, beckoning, signaling, signaling. Attempted, attempted, tried. Further, exhausted, exhausted, tired badly, exhausted, tired. Strange, unfamiliar, strange, unfamiliar. Floating, floating is to swim slowly in water, swim slowly in water. Scraps, pieces, scraps, pieces. Now I'll be explaining. He completely forgot that earlier he was unable to take his flight. Now he was very much confident. He was screaming, he was making noise, he was diving, soaring high, and then now he could face the vast sea. He could face the vast ocean. Now he could see the vast green sea beneath him. And he could easily moved over He could easily move over the ridges. He was now confident enough. He was taking his flight. He had no fear. He could see the vast green ocean beneath him with the little ridges. He was flying over these little ridges and he was making ga ga sound or amusedly. He was very happy. And now his parents, his brothers and sisters had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. Green flooring is that vast green ocean. Now they had landed and they were beckoning to him. Beckoning, they were signaling him. They were giving him signals to come to them. He dropped his legs and he stood on the green sea. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. When he tried to stood on the green ocean, he sank, his legs sank into it. He got scared and he tried to flap his wings again and to rise above this flooring. But he was tired and weak. Now, because he had not eaten anything from the previous nightfall and now he had taken flight, he got very much tired. And he was tired and weak and he could not rise. He could not take flight and he could not rise above this green land. His feet sank into this green sea and his belly touched and his belly touched the green land, green surface, and he was now floating on it. And his family was around him. They were screaming, they were praising him for his effort, they were happy with his effort. And then they offered him scraps of dogfish because he was hungry, he was unable to move, he was unable to comfort himself in that green sea. So his parents, his family members helped him. They provided him with the dogfish. And finally, he could make his first flight. Now we get to know that if we try something, we can definitely do. If we do not try and if we do not make any effort to achieve anything, then it is not possible for us to achieve anything. Same thing is with this young seagull who tried and finally took his first flight. I hope this text is clear to you. In my next video, I'll be discussing the question answers of this part 1, his first flight. I have told you many word meanings. These word meanings are to be noted down in your notebook. Please do note them down. Okay? We'll meet in our next video with question answers.